A little bit ago, I uploaded a video of me reacting to the Amy's Baking Company episode of Kitchen Nightmares over on my Twitch channel, and it didn't do half bad. But I have had some people ask me whatever happened to the lovely chupacabra lady, Amy. Israel, I guess. I couldn't find the actual social media posts that show that she's living there, mainly because I don't give a shit. What I do care about is what happened to her illustrious business. ABC actually shut its doors permanently in 2015 after getting bought out, which is kind of surprising to me because you need the greatest marketing team in the world to distance yourself from that shit show. A year after their first stint with Papa Gordon, Amy and Sammy actually made an appearance on Dr. Phil. Sammy tried to make it sound like his outbursts were all over dramatized for TV. He even called the customers that had actual complaints actors, more so in the sense that they were clout chasing because they knew that they were going to be on TV, which sure, I bet that does happen whenever people hear Gordon's going to be in town. But to have those over dramatic outbursts for the sake of TV, it just demonizes you to future customers. I want more customers, so I'm going to threaten the few that I actually have. It's such a back-assward form of marketing that I honestly respect them having the balls to do it. That even includes the fact that they actually made merch with some of the more memorable moments for this show, like "Here's your pizza, go fuck yourself," or Sammy claiming himself as the gangster. Now, I don't know exactly what country Sammy's from, but he's adapted to capitalism beautifully. And even more recently, I reacted to the second episode of Amy and Sammy on Kitchen Nightmares, which came out around the same time as the Dr. Phil episode. They showed interviews from people at BuzzFeed talking about the pieces that they wrote on Amy's Baking Company, and even the two waitresses that were in the first episode of Kitchen Nightmares. And during that original episode, just remember that the only one that we saw get fired was Katie for talking back, whatever the fuck you want to call it. But it turns out that actually everyone working there got fired immediately after Gordon left because the owners were so paranoid that they were sabotaging that they were like, nah, get the fuck out. The other waitress, Miranda, did end up going back the day after getting fired, which I don't know why the fuck you would ever do that. But she did end up leaving on her own, finally, after Sammy accused her of stealing a $5 tip, which belonged to her anyway. They even showed the audition tapes from Sammy and Amy trying to be on Kitchen Nightmares in the first place. And it's not even surprising that the wait staff in the audition tapes isn't even the same wait staff that we see in the episode. And granted, I don't know the exact turnaround from audition to filming, but I also, it's not a surprise that it's completely different people. It did have the female chef, the one who kind of had to work her way up from the first episode that Gordon reached out to. The best part of showing the audition tapes was Sammy in the background at one point yelling with a customer, Amy turning, yelling, "Sammy." And he just responds in the most casual way possible. "What's up?" It's a completely normal thing, which it probably is. I just think the best part of that is that Sammy tried saying that these terrible customers only came to clout chase for the show, but were there before they even got picked to be on the show. And it's fucking proof right there. What was really disappointing to me about the second episode is that Gordon didn't even show up himself. He sent his reporter, Anna Garcia, which I didn't even know Gordon had reporters. But okay. In the moment she gets to the restaurant and announces that she's part of Kitchen Nightmares, holy shit. You would think it's a cop busting a high school party full of underage drug and alcohol use. Sammy suddenly gets super defensive and starts demanding to be paid to be on the show because of how much money Kitchen Nightmares made, based on how fucking ridiculous it was to watch them with so many people rewatching it. Amy starts recording on her phone and starts trying to call someone, and I wouldn't really be surprised if she's trying to call the cops, because that just seems to be what she does when she knows she's in the wrong and wants to get out of the situation. They also blame Kitchen Nightmares for being the reason for their bad reputation and kind of a laughingstock throughout the whole town. But them having a bad reputation and being a laughingstock is why Kitchen Nightmares went there in the first place. So it doesn't really add up. I really feel bad for Anna, Gordon's reporter, because they keep blaming her, saying, "You did this, you did that." And I know that they're directing it towards Kitchen Nightmares and not her specifically. But the fact that she's just taking the blunt of this fucking verbal abuse and being made to feel guilty for everything, it really, I feel bad for her. Gordon's reporter does sit down and have an interview with Sammy and Amy, and it's kind of just a recap of what happened in the first episode, and it really just ends with Sammy and Amy becoming super defensive and blaming Kitchen Nightmares for everything that's gone wrong with them. They also try to say that the reason that they act and lash out at people the way that they do is because they're defending themselves, and they think that they should be held as some kind of martyrs for other business owners. And if I'm a business owner, I'm really upset. Like, I don't want you representing me on one of the biggest platforms that there is. Anna also asks if there was any positive change from Gordon's visit. And one thing that Sammy does mention is that they switched their policy on tips, so they're starting to give their waitresses and their wait staff tips. But then he quickly says that that was like a bad change for the restaurant, because rather than these employees getting hourly, they get tips. So if it's slow, they don't get paid. And I kind of get, like, I understand, I know what Sammy, where he's, I get what he's saying, you know. If it's slow and your whole like source of income relies on tips, you're kind of fucked. And it sounds like Sammy's trying to be like sympathetic towards his wait staff, but he's really just trying to gain bonus points or something. But hourly and tips don't have to be mutually exclusive. It doesn't have to be one or the other. The idea that you have to choose between tips or hourly is a huge reason that I've refused to work in the service industry ever since I moved to Texas, because that's how it works here. Waitresses and wait staff get $2 or $3 an hour depending on where you work. But they get 100% of their tips, which is nice. But just like every business, a restaurant is gonna have dead periods where you take home nothing, and then what? You're just fucked because you don't get hourly. You rely on busy service nights and you rely on steady customer flow. And when you have a restaurant that's notorious for being rude and kicking out guests, you're not gonna have that flow of cash that those wait staff rely on. I think the final blow to Sammy and Amy came when TMZ uploaded a video of Sammy seemingly waving a knife at a customer.
It's not worth it. Hey, you're gonna go to jail for the rest of your life. Think about what you're doing. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
Piece of coward.
He says it's a silver pen. I say he's full of shit. I'll let you decide. I guess the story, according to Sammy, is a dude came into the restaurant clearly drunk and started yelling obscenities, trying to touch at Amy. And I get it. No matter the situation, you don't go into a restaurant in that manner. Should that type of behavior ever happen? No. Does that give you the right to threaten him with a knife? Also no. And it doesn't seem that Sammy and Amy have picked up another restaurant in Israel, but Amy's very active on social media, sharing different baking recipes. But like I said, the first reaction video, that's what she should have been doing all along. So I guess it's a happy ending.